Hey guys, this is Bradley. I'm going to try to clarify this, drawing a little bit more because apparently there's still some confusion about it, even after the advanced strategy webinars that we produced. So I'm going to try to make this video here to explain how this works once again, and hopefully this will be the last time I have to do it. I'm just going to refer everybody to this video that asked this question from, going forward. Okay, so if you're, remember guys, if you're using a YouTube channel, you don't have to worry about hiding a footprint. If you want to, you certainly can. I'm just telling you through testing. I mean, I've got over 600 IFTTT networks, guys, and I can tell you that it doesn't make a difference for YouTube as long as you use the recipes the way that I have shared them or created them with you guys for the with it just in the description area of the post, where it just puts a link back to the YouTube video and a link back to the YouTube channel. That's it. If you start adding in the description and everything else, if you pull in the description from the YouTube video to post on the blogs that it's syndicating to, then yeah, you can cause problems. Or if you're trying to add other links in there, it can cause problems. But for YouTube syndication alone, and the only thing that you're linking back to from the description area is back to the YouTube channel or any YouTube video itself, there is no footprint issues. If you want to add additional content, that's your choice. I'm just telling you, I don't do it, and I've got plenty of these networks, and they rank very, very well, okay? But if you're doing this for a blog, so let's say this is your blog here, okay, and you're going to syndicate content to your Tier 1 branded ring. You guys don't have to hide a footprint for your branded ring. The key word here is branded. If you're adding additional or secondary Tier 1 rings, so essentially persona rings, so like let's say you have your branded ring, and then now you want to add another Tier 1 ring so that it's directly fed by your blog RSS feed. Then you would, if it's a persona ring, it's not branded, then you absolutely want to make sure that you blend in some additional content sources, okay? Because you don't want to leave a footprint there. That would be leaving a footprint. But when you're claiming it's your content, when it's a branded Tier 1 ring, and you're syndicating your own content to your own branded properties, there's no reason that you should add in additional content, because it's quite natural, guys. Think about all the big companies out there that have their own Facebook pages, and their own Google Plus pages and their own Twitter profiles and everything else. What do they do when they add a blog post to their site? They might not have it automated by IFTTT the way that we do, but they go and they post it to all of their social media channels. There is no difference here, guys. None whatsoever. We are saying, hey, this is our content. Please give us credit for it over here. So we're sharing it on Twitter, we're sharing it on Facebook, we're sharing it on WordPress and Blogger and all of these other sites, but we're putting the attribution link saying, hey, this is where it came from. Give us the credit over here. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so if just to clear that up, guys, if you have secondary Tier 1 networks, then yeah, you want to hide your footprint, because now it looks like you're gaming the system. Okay, you're doing it specifically to build backlinks to your property. So that's where I would suggest using additional content sources. All right. So as far as this image goes, yeah, remember this blogger here, this blogger that I had represented in the original image, is the blogger profile from the Tier 1 branded network. Same as the Tumblr. The Tumblr was the Tumblr profile from the Tier 1 branded network. So I'm syndicating content to that property from my main money site RSS feed. It pushes content to the Tumblr property. Then the Tumblr property has an entire IFTTT network around it that is triggered by the Tumblr RSS feed. Okay? Which means there would be another Tumblr there. It's just because of the way that I had made the image, I didn't have that there because I just copied and pasted each one of those rings. Okay? But again, when I'm pushing content from my main money site to my branded Tier 1 ring, okay, using IFTTT and using the RSS feed from my main money site, and then it goes to the Blogger property, which Blogger, Tumblr, and WordPress are the 3 blogging platforms that we use. By the way, you can use blog.com as well. And that's one of the update videos in the IFTTT SEO Academy, how you can add blog.com as another blogging platform. Okay, you have to add a secondary, another IFTTT account, and blog is buggy as hell, just so you know. But you can do that, so you could essentially have 4 Tier 2 rings if you wanted. But just to keep it simple for this image's sake. So remember, you have 3 main blogging platforms, Blogger, Tumblr, and WordPress in your Tier 1 ring. Okay, so once you've pushed content to those, then you grab the RSS feed from each one of those. So let's say we'll go with Blogger this time. We grab the RSS feed from the P1 Blogger, or I'm sorry, from the Tier 1 Blogger. I don't like having additional acronyms and stuff if I don't need them. So from the Tier 1 Blogger, you take the RSS feed, and you push that to all of your rings, all of your network properties in your Tier 2 network, which would include another Blogger, another WordPress, another Tumblr. Okay? Same thing with Tumblr. If you push your content to Tumblr using the RSS feed from your main money site, then you take the RSS feed from Tumblr and you use that to trigger all of the Tier 2 properties. Okay? And lastly, the same thing with WordPress. And that's it. The only difference is that I add in, when I'm doing this for a website or a blog for blog syndication, then I will add in 2 or 3 additional content sources in on this side, which would be what I call the trigger recipes. All right, so here's a really crude drawing. Let's see if I can find it. All right, here's a really crude representation that I started putting together for the masterclass the other day. And you can see here. All right, so I just fleshed this out a little bit more, guys. All right, so trigger recipes. You have your money site RSS to Blogger. Okay, we're going back to the image. We're talking about this over here, okay? So our main money site feed pushes to our Blogger property in our Tier 1 branded network, okay? Then we go over and we set up our action recipes one time. You only have to set up your action recipes one time, which would be the Blogger RSS feed. You just use the same recipe, the same RSS2 recipe, right? That's all you need. You only need 2 sets of recipes, either the YouTube 2 recipes or the RSS2 recipes, okay? So if your money site RSS feed to Blogger, which would be a typical Tier 1 recipe, then you use your RSS2 recipes, but you use the Blogger RSS feed to feed the rest of the network, all right? So you set up the action recipes one time and that's it. Then you go back and you add in, and this is for your Tier 2 stuff, guys. Like I said, then I would go back in and add in secondary or additional content sources. So content source 1, RSS to Blogger. So essentially, like, let's say that you went out and you grabbed the SEO Moz blog feed, okay? Then you would, and which is what I used in the example for the RSS recipes. That's what you see in there. You would go grab the RSS feed from the SEO Moz blog, and you would add another trigger recipe. So it would be using the RSS2 Blogger recipe, but you would use that secondary or that additional content source RSS feed as what is feeding that recipe, is what triggers that recipe, okay? Then you set up another trigger recipe for the next content source and another recipe for the last content, the third content source. And guys, it doesn't have to be 3. That's just what I recommended. If you've got some really hyperactive feeds, you could do some additional, like just a couple feeds, or if you have some feeds that aren't publishing often enough, then you can add in more feeds, okay? This is not a magic formula here, okay? This is just what I found that I do on average is about 3 content sources, okay? But that's not set in stone. You guys can try different configurations and try different options. I encourage that. All right, so anyways, once you've set up your action recipes for each ring, you're done with that. You don't need to do anything else with that. It's just your trigger recipes, which each one are going to have your money site RSS feed on the Tier 1 level. Then when it gets to Tier 2, when you're pushing out to Tier 2, you're going to add in the additional content sources as additional trigger recipes. And that's it. And you want to make sure there's an attribution link citing the source, giving credit to the original source. So go, and this was covered in the beginning of Advanced Strategy webinar number 3. And it might have even been number 2, to be honest with you. I'd have to go back and look. But you want to make sure that the feed that you're using for the additional content sources have an attribution link already coded in, like what we do with our with the Yoast plugin or our RSS plugin. And if it does not, then you need to code that in, the attribution back to the source in the recipe itself, okay? But just like what I'm saying here, guys, if we go back over to the image, so your content that you're posting to your Blogger profile on Tier 1, now you're going to take the Blogger RSS URL and you're going to set up your action your action recipes, which you're going to post to all of your properties in that network. And then if you want to add in, which I suggest you do if you're doing this for blog syndication, you're going to add in some additional content sources. You're just going to set up a couple, 2 or 3 additional trigger recipes so that they can also feed your network. Okay, and that's it. Simple as that. All right, that's all you need to do. Hopefully that clears things up, guys. I'll put a link to this image in there as well. But I mean, it's really, I think a lot of you, maybe not intentionally, but you overcomplicate this, and it doesn't need to be. Just set up your networks, set up your tier 1 triggers the way that we show you, and for your tier 2 triggers, you set them up exactly like we show you with. You just use your Blogger RSS feed, your Tumblr RSS feed, or your WordPress RSS feed as the trigger instead of the money site RSS feed.